Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with
Corey,
KJ, and no Mike. Mike's not here, but that's not because he couldn't be here, but that's because we have a special guest in Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
This is also known as Escape Room Tom, which I think he's been referred to on this podcast Or Tim, that's true. For the Dylan listener out there, that it is Tim that is here in the podcast studio. And we're going to do something a little different and special this time, because we're actually recording this probably like a month or so before it's actually going to air. It's probably going to air while I'm on vacation, because we won't be recording an episode. But it's also because Tom is leaving the state, mostly because of Dylan. That's what I've established. It's just because of Dylan. You don't want to associate with Dylan. See? Can't stand him.
I mean, I might move to Buffalo too.
But yeah, so you're moving, and I wanted to definitely get you on the podcast to talk about escape rooms, because that's more or less how we met you, was through escape rooms.
That is, you guys called me with an annoying request one day.
No, that's not how, well, it's how Corey met you.
That's true.
But
I
you
played
met
your
me,
room.
yes. Yes.
Wait, what? How did I meet you?
When we went, so you and I were working at the state, you were still in the PR world, like me.
Yeah.
And we wanted to leave work early and go to escape rooms.
Yeah. So
we looked on his website, and his website had like a 1 to 2, 2:45 to 3:45, and like a 5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
And we were like, we don't want to do that. See if he'll let us do the rooms back to back to back.
But you called.
Well, yeah, of course I called.
That's what surprised me. I thought he meant that I called. I was like, that doesn't sound like me.
No,
I would have had KJ do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. It sounds like him, except that he wouldn't go through with the call.
Yeah, well,
He'd
that's
be
why
like, you call. You sound like a dick. It's fine. It's good.
Yes.
Yeah, it works.
What, sound like a dick?
I mean, that's fair.
You beat yourself on that call.
Yeah. But yeah, so we called Tom, and Tom's like, sure, come on in. And yeah.
And what was the first? I mean, I'm probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but I'm just trying to think. The first room we did at your place was the zombie room?
Yeah,
Uprising. Yeah,
zombie
that one was
uprising.
cool.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like that I mean, is it still there? No, it's not still there. We
It's
talked
not
about this
still there.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the zombie room, the fact that it was the first one we did at your escape room, the fact that we started separately, I think was the first time we ever had done a room like that where we were separated.
At that time.
At
yes.
that time.
Yeah.
Well, the first we ever did.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think if there
it would
was
still be the
another
first
one.
after we did it again at another place. You're just like, I was a virgin when I met you, except for that other time.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the first one where we started separately. And fun fact that I think we told you, but I'm not sure. He didn't think we were going to get out because no one had ever gotten out as a duo in that room.
It wasn't supposed to be played as a two-person team.
It wasn't supposed to be possible to do it. But we're pretty good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because wasn't there a part in there specifically we couldn't do with only 2 people? Or am I mixing that up with a different room?
You're mixing it up with the Zodiac.
Zodiac, okay.
Yeah, Zodiac you had to have 3.
Yeah.
Which we did. So Tom and I met because Corey and I opened an escape room, oh God, how many years ago? 2016?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. I think I want to say 2016 we opened an escape room. We did our first one
No, that can't be right.
I'm pretty sure it's right.
Actually, wait, no, never mind. I'm getting my dates wrong.
I opened mine in 2017.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was 2016. Yeah. And yeah, so we opened our escape room. We had our undercover room first, which just looked like a shitty undercover cop area, and which worked because we're terrible at building things. So it was allowed to look crappy. And yeah, that was a fun room that our opening weekend for that room had, I want to say we had 22 groups the opening weekend, and only one of them got out.
22 groups?
Yeah, I think so.
Or 22
like Friday,
people?
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, we had a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like the first weekend, but then after that, it fucking fell off a cliff.
Well, did we do Groupon
That
right
was
away?
after.
Oh, okay.
That was after.
Yeah, which for anyone doing an escape room business, Groupon might get you a ton of business at first, but don't make it a long-term endeavor because they take so many.
So
I wouldn't even touch Groupon.
Yeah.
Well, it was good for us because I
got our name more out there.
I feel like we would have had next to no business the first few months because we didn't really
do much advertising. Yeah. And also because we were also the second escape room in Waterville, everybody just assumed anything they heard about the escape room was about
the other one.
Yeah, mainly escapes. instead of it being about entrap me. But you came with 2 others, right? The first time? 2 other people.
Oh, yes.
Did the room, solved the room, got on our leaderboard, then came back 6-8 months later, whenever it was, when we opened our second room. Did you get on the leaderboard in Ultraviolet?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yep.
3 Little Squigs was on one of the names.
The
Six Pistols, because that's when it with the family too, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then you came back eventually when we opened our third and final room, Nightmare on Main Street. Not to be confused with Ultimate Nightmare, because fuck them. And then I think you got on the leaderboard on that one too, right?
I think so, but I can't remember the name we had.
I don't remember that one. That used to be the running joke with us, because I used to be able to name all of those every single time. And then, so we met for those first 2. We had no idea who owned Escape 207. Corey and I were in the midst of, okay, how many rooms can we go do? And we were just knocking them out constantly. And then we were
business expense.
That too. That's definitely put it
research
in
and development.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So we saw yours and we're like, oh, he's got 3 rooms open, because you had zombies, you had Edna, and you had the bank.
Bank heist.
Yeah. So contacting you and then walking in and be like, hey, I know this guy. And you were, and you still are, stupidly personable. It's almost annoying. Like, I don't know if I could find somebody that you potentially would have something bad to say about you. I mean, minus business stuff, but like just people that know you in general, or anybody that came to the escape room, or anybody I've talked to outside of it, or even when you come play poker with us, everybody's like, Tom's such a nice guy. I've never heard that about me. It's shocking, I know, for our listeners.
Well, like, I think what really sold it for me was that you're a very nice person. Is like Dylan has a tendency, for those listening who have played poker with us, to screw people over on the river and having stayed with like 2 outs or whatever, and calling 5, 6, crazy. So everyone we play with at this point has been like, fuck Dylan at some point. And I know he's done it to you, and you're just kind of like, oh, well, it is what it is.
It happens.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, but when it happens too much, that's just bad. So then we did your rooms, and you were a very good game master too. Like, you explained the rooms well. Before we get into further, because we're already almost 10 minutes into this thing, escape rooms, for people that don't know, are basically challenges / puzzle rooms that usually have a theme where you're going in, usually with a group, usually more than 2 people, unless you're Corey and I, and you're solving puzzles, riddles, everything else to get you to the next part, to eventually lead, usually to some type of culmination, whether it's turning a key, pressing a button, getting out of a door, whatever it ends up being, depending on the room that you're in, will have the culmination. Then you get out and you have a certain amount of time to do it, depending on what type of room it is. Like, you had, wasn't Zombie 90 minutes? Or was it 60?
No, 60.
What one's 90?
I didn't have a 90. Wonderland was 75
That's
minutes.
what it was. Wonderland was 75, and Date Night was 30 or 45?
It was 60.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
It doesn't sound... Does that sound right? I feel like we
did
date nights.
The clock every time, and it was set to 60.
I'm going to go with Tom on his own escape room here.
I could have swore that was or maybe it was just the fact that it was 2 people.
It was just a 2-person room.
But I thought it was shorter. But yeah.
I think it may be people where, like, I don't seem to remember taking very long to get through that one with Janie.
Oh, in the beginning, you guys sucked.
Sure.
Tom and I were watching you. It was me, Crystal, Luca, and him watching you guys, and you guys were doing way worse than us. And I was like, they don't stand a chance. And then next thing you know, it was just like a light bulb went off in your fucking head. It was just click, 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 click. And I was like, oh, he beat our time. So, yeah, Corey beat our time. I wasn't very happy about it. But it was a good room. It was a good concept. We didn't have any of those around here that were... It's one of the reasons I liked yours. There was... Obviously, it was split up, which is, I still think, might have been the only room in Maine. I don't think there's any other room in Maine where you split up, is there?
I think.
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah. So that was the first room you split up. You had the first 2-person room, and then you had the room where the first one that I can think of being quote-unquote kidnapped.
Yes.
Yeah, with Zodiac.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
See, that's weird. I I don't remember Zodiac that well. Was that the one
It
where you had to crawl
traumatized you so much.
Yes.
in the smell?
Yes.
Okay, I do remember that. I guess I wasn't even thinking.
We went there with Dan.
That's right. That was called Zodiac.
Yeah.
I guess I forgot the
Son
name,
of the
but
Zodiac.
I remembered it. Yeah.
Yeah, Son of the Zodiac, and I got put into a lock chained fence area with a bucket on my head and had to listen to something super fucking creepy. Yeah, so all of your rooms were very different and unique, minus Edna. Fuck Edna's room.
Yeah, we didn't like Edna.
No, didn't like Edna. That was an out-of-the-box room, right? Like,
yes.
Paid for, and then all your other ones are original ideas, and which I think showed.
Oh, yeah.
The first one we did was zombies, as you mentioned, Corey, and that was a lot of fun. The light puzzle was a lot of fun. I don't even know what the name of it.
The puzzle?
The what?
Where you had to reach in both sides?
Yeah. Hand puzzle, you reach in both sides.
Yeah, so there was a trunk that you were only able to unlock if you worked as a team.
Oh, that's right, for the key. And yeah. Then the cockroaches that Corey didn't like. He's like, I'm not doing it.
I was surprised by it.
Yeah,
I was
just like, okay, I'll grab it. I don't mind. But no, the puzzle on the wall where you had to match two symbols up and it gave you the grid, was a very cool one that I've seen multiple times now. But that was, I want to say, like within the first 15 rooms or so that we did. So it was definitely a unique experience doing it. And I love that we got out, and after we got out, you were like, oh, you guys got out. Was not expecting that.
That's not supposed to happen.
No. But we were in the zone at that point, I felt like, because we were just doing rooms as often as possible, that everything was clicking, which is now almost a detriment because two different reasons. One, either you overthink things now in escape rooms, or two, I plan little things for Corey, like for his birthday, and then just instant solve, and to the point where I came up with them, and I was like, I roughly know how long this will take Corey. It should take about an hour. And I was dead on, but everybody else is like, I would look at that and either quit and give up, or it was literally going to take me all day. I was like, it should take an hour. That's why I've set it up like this. And it did. And then some of the puzzles, the ones where he was actually out in the community, solved quickly. And then there's one I thought might take a little bit of time. I don't know if you ever heard of a rebus puzzle.
I don't think so.
So a rebus puzzle is a puzzle that has like a picture clue. Like say if it's a picture of your foot, but there's an arrow pointing to your toe. And it says below that O equals H.
Okay.
So it's toe, but O equals H, so the word is the. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then there's more of that, and I thought that was going to take Corey longer than it did. 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe. Like, he was supposed to be stuck on that for at least 15 and then get to the last location, which was us having hibachi. But, yeah, he solved that, and he was there before half the people for the surprise party. And I was just like, damn it.
It's a sad surprise.
Yeah, I know, he got to see me.
KJ. I was like, aw.
Oh, this fucking guy.
Well, that's what when I first got the clues, I did them at my house and got done kind of early, I guess. And then it was that I had to be here at 10. So I was like, well, fuck, I'm already up now. I just got to wait around for an hour and a half. But then when I got here, it was just him and we played poker. And so I was thinking there the whole time, I was like, it was the big reveal me sitting and playing poker with you one-on-one in the dark of your room.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time, I guess. But
yeah, then I was like, okay, you beat me in poker. Look under your seat. And he's like, oh, there's more? And just the excitement.
That was what it really was. It's like, there better be. I would have rather just stayed home.
How dare you plan something for my birthday if it's not super elaborate? But yeah, because of all the escape room stuff, like things like that just solved so quickly that if I gave it to like a layman, it's going to be an all day or all weekend type of thing. And because he's done the rooms, I've done the rooms, I'm sure if I would have given it to you, they probably would have been pretty easy solves too. Mm-hmm. It's, like I said, it's a good thing and it's also a detriment.
My favorite thing was he did a crossword puzzle with like, how many clues were there? 35?
How old are you?
Oh, 35.
Yeah.
Okay. So there were 35 clues, but there were certain boxes that were marked yellow that were part of the word scramble. You just had to take that letter. So like I started on number 1, number 2, and then I was like, wait, what the fuck?
I only need to do the ones with the yellow.
I only got to do the ones with yellow.
I wasn't even thinking. I should have given Janie an answer key or the sheet with those yellow squares marked off for once he got done. Then he takes that and then goes, okay, which letters do I need?
Yep.
Didn't even think that he wouldn't do the crossword puzzle. Wasn't even in my mind that he was just going to be like, oh, why would I do that? And then when he calls me and I call him out for it, and he's like, we do that in an escape room.
Exactly.
I was like, we would do that in an escape room. We do exactly that in an escape room.
Dude, I've done so many like escape rooms where we had that lock where I don't even remember what it was, but it was a 5-letter word lock, and I was just like, theme of the room, death or something.
I think that's a huge issue with rooms is when they do the lock that's themed.
Yeah.
Like you're in a horror room and it's blood.
Or skull.
Or, so like they always
we had
use
one
words
that was
like
death.
that.
Yeah. Is that...
we had one that was death.
That's not the one I get. I can't remember the one I guess.
Why would you guess ours?
Ours. No.
I got it, guys. Well, yeah, we created it.
I thought you meant we had one like at a room we
were
doing.
No.
We had
ours was death for the chest freezer.
Yeah. I don't remember.
We only had one person ever solve that ahead of time.
Okay.
And it's only because they thought there was a clue in the room about it, and that's how they solved it, which wasn't what it was. But
it's like I had an old man get a lock because he has bad vision. He literally put in the wrong number that he put in correctly because he couldn't see the numbers. So he was trying like 913 and he put in 418, and that was actually the answer.
The Vegas one?
The locker room in Bangor.
Yeah.
The haunted locker
room?
Whatever it was called.
Yeah.
We did one of the puzzles wrong because you were supposed to take this board and put puzzle pieces within the board, and once you did it correctly, you see certain numbers.
Okay.
We did it wrong, and we were doing it on the wrong lock, and popped the lock. And we went down a whole other thing that we shouldn't have been to do.
Yeah,
it was just, there's no way to prevent that.
No.
Like, really, because we grabbed the wrong lock, and we did the puzzle wrong, and it popped. And they were just like, well, I guess we just let them keep going. Like, I don't know what else you're supposed to do.
I like the puzzles where, like, if there's 4 numbers and you find out one number, like, by doing a thing and then as you go. But people will get, like, the 3rd number and then just be like, okay, we got to figure out that 4th one.
Yeah, I just
We're
spin
just, like,
the 4th.
spin the fucking thing until you get it.
Yeah, so we just did the bistro room. A few
you went
weeks
up there?
back. Yeah. We finally went and did that when Nick came up to visit back in February, I think it was. Or no, March. It was just recently because we did it also for Dylan's birthday thing.
May.
June.
It might have been, but no. So we did that one, and the puzzle. You've done the bistro room, right?
I have not.
Okay. There's a puzzle. And
Thanks for the invite, KJ.
Yeah, exactly.
I could have swore you had already done that room.
No.
Have you done main escape games? The like not Harry Potter room?
The Wizard, and he's done the other one, the new
time
one.
travel.
Travel one, yeah.
They're both fantastic.
Yeah, we need to go down. Especially now that there's 2, we should just go down and knock them out. Yeah. We just have to get at least more than 2 people, because if we go with 2 people, it's $75 regardless. And if you go with 3 people, it's $75. It's $25 a person.
Prices for escape rooms have skyrocketed since COVID.
They used to be $20, like back when we first opened. It was $20 a room always.
Yep.
And then it went up to $25, and then there was some at $30. When we went out of state, we started paying $30, $40 a room per person. I was like, damn, is that what these people can get away with? For an hour. And then we did that Saw escape room, which granted, escape room in Vegas it was worth the money that we paid, but I got us a deal because I talked to the lady there and said that we owned our own escape room and can we come, blah, blah, blah. And I got us a really good deal, but it wasn't cheap. You're still talking like, I think we paid $45 or $50 per person, and there was 7 of us that went. So
that was pretty cheap per person for that experience.
It was more. It's supposed to be more. I got us a deal, but I'm saying, even just that amount is a lot of money, because how many people did they have coming through? Like, they were just raking it in. There was a group ahead of us. There was a group behind us. And it's like
they're in like the poorest part of Vegas, too. I thought we were going to get
their rent's $20 a month.
It fit the theme. Fit the theme of you're going there to die.
I thought you were so stupid, too. I probably haven't been through this, but we walk through this part that's called like what, the Naked Mile or something.
We didn't
like
know
that.
what it was called
Right.
then.
But they call it that because people will literally rob you.
You naked.
You naked.
Where were you walking from?
From the stratosphere,
Yeah.
behind,
Off
there's
strip.
a road, off strip to where the Saw escape room is.
Oh,
Like, I
there were
looked
all
on
these
the
sketchy
I looked on the
spots, but-
whatchamacallit, and I was like, oh, it's like a 4-minute walk. Why wouldn't we just walk? Why would we take a cab? Like, let's just walk. And it was in the broad daylight, and there was 7 of us.
Isn't that weird? I assumed you played the Saw escape room at night. Just because
No,
it's
it
horror
wasn't at
themed.
night.
I don't
I
think
mean,
it
it
was
wasn't-
during the day.
It was like in the evening, because
Yeah.
then we
Wouldn't
had
have made
another
it
thing to
during
go after
night.
that.
We would've-
It's true, we would have died.
But
We definitely
so
would've
we're
died.
walking by and there are sketchy people and like we stopped at this store because I think Matt or somebody wanted a drink.
Smokes.
Smokes, okay, but sketchy people all around. And so when we finally get around the area we're supposed to go, and we don't see it or anything because it's kind of, you don't know where it is. It's part of the experience, I guess. This guy comes out in like basically just like a tank top. He was not wearing anything. That
He was wearing
denote-
like a vest that made him look like he was supposed to be something with a clipboard.
Okay.
So, but he's got like this clipboard. Just, it's not like a fancy setup here.
No.
And he's just like, hey, you guys need any help? What can I help you with? And Cage is like, well, we're looking for the Saw escape room. And the guy's like, oh yeah. What's your name? And
well, no, he said
Jameson.
we don't know
Oh,
what.
there's 7 of you. like he's giving him his name.
Well, no, hang on.
At no point
Hang
did
on.
he solicit information to us.
He
It's like when you
did.
get an Uber
He
driver,
did.
you just get in the car without
But
getting
he
What's your
did
name?
because he said
John.
we don't
Oh, yeah,
do.
John.
I don't know what a Saw escape room is. This is for the tour of the pig factory, which is from the Saw movie. He said that, so that's why I immediately knew of what it was. And it's true.
No, I did it because I remember walking into the thing like, we're going to die because him over here is just...
There's 7 of us. We would have been fine.
Yeah.
Sure, we lose a couple of the girls, but
There's 7 of us, so I might have gotten away because I'm probably faster than some of you. But,
Tom and I will be the stragglers.
Rule number 1, cardio.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But
it ended up being probably one of the highlights of Vegas.
yeah.
Top 3, I think.
Yeah, and it's also probably not for the puzzles, but for the aesthetic and it being Saw and having the voice of Tobin Bell, which is the voice of Jigsaw from the movies, was probably the best escape room of all time. But just not for, like, the puzzles were fine, but they were very Saw puzzles, but none of them were overly complicated when you think back at them.
Okay.
But it felt very Saw-esque in the sense of the puzzles you see in Saw. Like, there weren't many new, if any, new puzzles in the thing
I don't
compared to
think
the
so.
movies.
I think they were all kind of pulled from...
Yeah, or variations of what was pulled from the movie.
Yeah.
We also got to see Anthony scream like a little bitch when him and Matt went into that freezer,
Yeah.
and that girl who's supposed to help us was hiding underneath the blanket. Because when you go to this room, you get asked, do you want no help, moderate help, or all kinds of help? And we asked for moderate help because to me that's the normal level. And so what that means for them is either there's going to be a live actor in there with you or no live actor, or the live actor in there is going to help you with everything.
Okay.
So she's hiding in a freezer like she got kidnapped by Jigsaw.
Oh,
But she's underneath a blanket and it's very dark in there. So Matt and Anthony are poking around and something starts moving and they freak the fuck out. But then she comes out and she was great. She did a great job as a live actor during it's the first time I think we've had a live actor during an escape room.
Well, in the room with us, you mean?
Yeah. What
Yeah,
other room have we done?
Well, I was thinking Escape Your Fears, but I guess technically they're not in the room.
That's out. Well, yeah. So they're in the other room
Also,
to freak
we
you
shouldn't
out.
even... See, this is weird. I know we're doing a podcast about escape rooms, but I also feel a little weird talking about any that are still open. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
room's
Well,
still
I don't
active.
necessarily give away certain things, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think we
Well,
have.
I just mean we
yet.
should probably be careful about it. Like,
Well, we're
I
talking
knew
about
his
Tom's
closed.
room. His are closed.
I get
Ours
it.
are closed.
Yeah.
Rooms that are now defunct.
Yeah.
I think there should be a time limit. If the room's been open for more than 3
Should we-
years,
Escape Your
you
Fear
should
has
be
been
able to
open for
talk
like
about
a
it.
decade.
Yeah, it's like 20 years
Well, there's
old.
also so many people traveling through Portland that probably have done that one because it's right near the mall that
Yes.
they probably don't need to change rooms. I actually appreciate that they've opened as many rooms as they have because
Instead of just mainly escapes and just keep the same room open.
right, because they easily could do what Mainly Escapes or Mainly Escapes is in Waterville, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about what's main escape. What's the one in Portland on Congress Street?
Oh, the escape room. The escape room.
Yeah, like that one hasn't really changed too many.
They've changed a few, but yeah, since they moved to their new location, I think it's the exact same rooms.
Yeah.
But it's because of the foot traffic.
And they don't have to because of where they are. So I kind of appreciate that main escape games has, even though they probably could have gotten by without investing any more money.
Well, they keep expanding too. They keep buying more or renting more of the space.
They're in a great spot because they're in like it's not really, I guess, kind of like a strip mall, but basically they can just keep buying the bill, like the
next
rooms
door.
Next to them. Yeah.
Yeah, what I hear now is
it's like a more official strip mall, like in the sense of they're like businesses there, but not businesses that would solicit people.
It's like brewing companies and stuff.
Yeah, I think there was like a contractor person there and something else, potentially even like a insurance agency. So it's not like a lot of people are going to be coming there. You're mostly, if you're going in that area, you're going to the escape room.
Yep. And from what I understand right now, they're remaking the estate into a new room. So the estate's closed.
Okay. Which is good. That's probably their worst room.
I agree. Well, it's their oldest room.
Well, oldest room now. Yes. Because their first room they opened.
The main room.
Yes, the main room.
Which was fantastic when it opened.
Yes.
But compared to what they do now,
I know.
Doesn't even come close.
It's funny. So Corey and I were just talking about, what's the first, the bunker that we did, which is the escape room. They owned it before they moved to the new location. And we did that room and we loved that room. You look back at it now and you go, I don't know why I love that room.
That was terrible.
It wasn't necessarily terrible, but it was nowhere near a lot of these other ones. And it's just because it'll always hold a special place in my heart because it's the first room that we did, and it got me hooked on these things. Even though we had been talking about it for like a year or so, we need to go do one. Then we finally did one and was like, holy shit, that was a lot of fun. But then as soon as you experience what a real escape room should be, you're just like, holy shit. It's like going from black and white to color. And it's mind-boggling the amount of progress that escape rooms and the creativity people have. The room that we did which just popped up on my feed, by the way, that was like 5 years ago that we went. It was a couple of weeks ago, 5 years. We were down in New Hampshire when we did all those rooms at like the weekend where I think you and I did.
1 day.
Yes. Well, not in 1 day.
The very first day.
We did 10.
10. Okay, yeah.
10 in the first one. Corey did 8 because we did 2 without him, which we shouldn't have.
We shouldn't have.
Is that the one in Salem that you guys went to?
No. Salem was when we spent the night in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
I've played there. That Salem room.
Yeah,
they're gone now.
Yeah, they are gone. They're terrible.
It would make sense that they're gone.
Yes, it would. But no, we're talking about when we spent the night.
Well, I know Nashua.
Nope. Yeah, we spent the night in Nashua, and then we went up and hit up a couple other rooms. We did a magician room, and we did a haunted
Twinkie
estate room. Twinkie room. And they weren't that great, and we were also so burnt out. And then we did the worst room I think I've ever done. After
the last one of the night.
Oh yeah,
that was awful. We still talk about that.
It's so bad. The funnest part was just wheeling around in those chairs, and we're all exhausted, laughing about stupid shit. And then I loved him coming in.
Was that the lab?
Yes.
Like with the test tube?
Yeah.
Nothing worked right.
Which is funny because the first room that we did there, the Da Vinci...
fantastic.
The first room was about it was about like a will.
An inheritance.
Inheritance, yeah. It was pretty damn good.
Yep.
The second room was Da Vinci room or something.
Good.
Pretty good, not bad, especially for a one-room room. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that third room. Like, what did you guys do? Did you guys get new owners, new people? This is awful, and none of the puzzles made sense. And when you solve something, you'd open like a drawer in a cabinet or a desk, and there'd be another lockbox inside,
or 3 lockboxes.
3 lockboxes, and you're like,
no more clues to figure out how to open them.
You're just you're supposed to figure it out with the other stuff in the room. Like, oh my God.
My favorite part was at the end when we're completely exhausted. The 60 minutes is coming to an end. It's over. He opens the door and just says, "You guys are super close. Keep playing." And he just closes the door. We're like, no, I just want to go home.
Well, we tried for another 15 minutes and still didn't. I don't think we solved one more thing. Like, you're super close.
No, it was the best is when he came in and showed us how to do the.
That's what I was about to get to. Yeah.
We're like, no.
Well, if you would have took this with the first letter of this, and then if you would have multiplied this by 7. Where are you getting that from? Like, what do you mean? Well,
I feel like the only way to solve that room was to leave the room, kidnap him, drag him in, and beat it out. And even then, I don't think he could have. He couldn't do those test tubes correctly either.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Oh yeah, because that's right. He was trying to show us that. Oh well, if you would have just done this and it didn't work, and we're like, yeah, okay. And even though we didn't do what he said to do, but even when he did it the quote unquote right way, it didn't work.
Speaking of bad rooms, is that place in
Mid-Coast?
Yeah,
Mid-Coast closed.
Yeah,
that
closed.
was awful.
Yeah, I hated that they reached
had the
out
exact
to you.
same puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just changed the word.
The worst part was, they changed the aesthetic too of the room.
Sure, but I mean, it was literally like, oh, you have to solve a 4-letter jumble puzzle
or a jigsaw puzzle,
Yeah.
which had nothing to do with pirates, had nothing to do with a tomb, had nothing to do with stealing jewels, and I don't even remember the other room because we did 4.
Fishing room.
Fishing room, that was the other room. What the fuck is a puzzle for any of them? Like, I could get it if you could make it make sense for one of the rooms. You probably could in one of the rooms make it make sense. How the fuck do you do it in a pirate room?
It looked like she had just gone yard sailing and was like, bunch of fish shit? That's one room.
We can add this in.
This person went to Egypt once and got all the tchotchkes. There's an Egypt room. Like,
well, I also hate that she reached out to you to begin with before opening to ask for advice. After we did the room, she asked for me for advice and implemented nothing.
Yeah.
Why ask? Why go through this whole thing? Like, because I think while we were there, too, she asked us, what did we think? And we're like, and Corey, I think Corey looked at me and was like, fuck, Cage is going to say something. I don't like confrontation. Can you at least let me leave first? Let me take me and my wife. Let's just go. Let's go. Run, Janie. Cage is going to start talking. But I basically was like, well, a lot of the puzzles are very much the same. A lot of this is going on. This didn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? Yep. She's like, well, thank you. I appreciate this. I'm going to see what I can do with making things. Nope. And closed like 6 months later.
Yeah, she also spent a lot of the time talking about how she also does a painting company.
Yes.
Like, I remember that more than I remember the rooms. Like, in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I need somebody to help paint. Oh, you know who would probably do a shitty job?
Well, see, that's the thing. There's a level of personable you need to be with the escape room, but without being necessarily oblivious to how how the guest is interacting with you. Because there's some people that I know that I've had that just want to go in, do the room, and get out. Mm-hmm. There's other people that want to have conversations about anything, and then there's others that only want to talk about escape rooms. And you have to gauge that when you're talking to them so that they enjoy their experience more. It's not about what I want to talk about. Right. It's about figuring out what the hell you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And there were some owners out there. You did a great job with that. But there are some owners out... the owners of Main Escape Games did a great job. I remember talking to both her and him. I've forgotten their names.
Alan and Renee.
Yes. And the daughter at one point, too, worked there. I think there was a daughter. Do they not have a daughter? Is it somebody else? There was that girl the first time that we were there, and all three of them were... I thought it was a daughter.
I think she had just worked for them for a bit or something. Like, she was part of the family.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it might have been something like that. But we were, like, all three of us standing around chatting after we did, like, the first or second room, something like that. And... just very personable. Love the fact that we were going to do our own room. Love that we came and did the room with just 2 people and they didn't think that we'd be able to do it and yada, yada, yada. Very personable stuff. More about us than about them. Was great. And then there's other ones like the Mid-Coast person.
I mean, I like he was a nice guy, but and I think you might know him, so I almost don't want to say that. But the Farmington guy.
Yeah. He's a little weird.
He's just not. It's not that he was not pleasant. Like, he didn't try to talk.
I just
think he was socially awkward. So I think it made it probably hard for him to like have that guest experience of like
to connect
pleasantly.
And or for make them feel comfortable because he didn't feel comfortable. And you kind of gauge yourself off of them, and he's trying. You can tell he's trying to put himself out there, but it's not the natural, norm.
He had. I'm trying to remember. He had decent rooms. I know one of them we did was not even done, so like I give that a little bit of slack.
His rooms were getting better.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like his first one was good.
Was okay.
And then the last one I played, I was like, okay, this is actually...
They had the medieval times room. They had the dinosaur room, which was the third room. And then they had the first room is where you're an agent that goes back in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which had a mediocre ending. and had some cool ideas, but no execution of those ideas. Like it sounded like when we were getting towards, because one of the last puzzles is where you have to draw the code
with
in
the
black
light with the paint. Yeah.
But there was no payoff to that besides for him being like, you did it. And it was
sounded
like,
cool in principle.
Yeah, it was great. If he could have just triggered something that
some
when you did that.
to like go around the room.
Anything, like if he could just press a button and something popped out of the ceiling or a door opened, would have been amazing.
Was it Mexico, Maine, or?
Yeah, that's the room that did the dojo. Yeah, that sold the dojo to
Javi with Portsmouth.
That's
so
what it is,
the dojo was one. I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning, I was like, "This room kind of is not good."
It's kind of the point,
and
which
then
is why
it takes it to a whole new level. But that was the same way with the UFO room at Main Escape.
Oh my god, I was so annoyed.
And I burned through the beginning of that room. That is the fastest I think. You know how I know I did really good in that beginning of that room, because he gives me credit for it.
And I don't give him credit for many things. I hate this kid.
Yeah.
But no, we went in there and it was you, me, and a couple of your buddies from college, I think, right?
Was that Mike and Steve that day? Maybe?
Might have been Mike and Steve. I don't know if it was Aki that time.
Did we do GTFO that day too?
It's possible. Everything blends together.
Yeah,
we've done so many rooms.
If we did, then they were. Yeah, it was that group. Probably,
yeah.
So I remember they were.
But I remember us going in, and before we went in there, it kind of explaining what to expect for them. And then we get in the room, we start looking at the puzzles, and Corey's explaining one thing to somebody, and as he's explaining it, it just, again, that little light bulb, and he's like, click. And he's like, oh, okay. And then that's going to lead me to this. Oh, look, click. And that's going to lead me to, like, for whatever zone whatever zone they were in when they created it, Corey tapped into it. And in the first 7-8 minutes, whatever it was, or less, it was boom, 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 done. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, that might be the end of this room. And then we open the other one and we're like, holy shit.
I still don't understand a puzzle in that room.
Which, the outside room or?
No, once you go in.
The first room? Okay.
I've played that room 3 times. And I just stare at the thing. I even had Alan come in, try to explain it to me, and I still just stare at it and go, I have no idea. It's the one with like the guitar plugs. And it has like 4 pictures, and you gotta.
Oh yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, so I'd have to do that. It's been years, but I remember us doing that puzzle. And
I just plug the first one in, and then I look at Alan, and I just say, "Tell me when to stop," and I plug it in.
Well, to me, that one's a good puzzle, but the one in Bangor where they had that casino. Room.
Yep.
There was a puzzle in there that I don't know if you remember. It was that roulette wheel.
Yeah, I remember.
And I got so frustrated with that puzzle because it didn't make any damn sense. And to the point where after we got done the room, one of the game masters said, he's like, I fought myself because I was going to come in there and explain it to you. I was like, well, you definitely shouldn't do that. And then secondly, it still doesn't make any damn sense.
No.
Even though other people were able to figure it out, it just wasn't good.
Now, that was probably one of the early rooms you played.
Yes.
Do you think if you went back now and played that, it would make sense?
That room is closed now.
No, but if you went back, if you were able to go back.
I don't think it'd make sense, though. That's the thing.
Like, I think that's the puzzle.
I've thought about it many times, like that roulette wheel, and it related to letters.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so there are some that are like that, but somebody else like on our team was able to solve it. Not quickly, but relatively quickly once they understood it. So I'm wondering if it's just something in me where I can't make that switch, or if it's just a bad puzzle. Like, probably. I don't know. It could be either.
Yeah.
Because somebody else was able to solve it. Great.
Yeah.
Also, that room in Bangor we hated. Because it's the H.H. Holmes room. It's about H.H. Holmes. Like,
so that was actually my original person that I was going to use instead of the Zodiac.
For Zodiac, I
was
mentioned.
H.H. Holmes, because it's perfect for an escape room.
Yep.
So when they opened theirs, I was like, well, we have to go check it out. And it was literally just a hotel room.
Itself is not that bad of puzzles.
Right.
But why are we talking about H.H. Holmes? Yeah. Why are we dealing with the H.H. Holmes? There's nothing in this room that has anything to do with him except I think his name or picture is somewhere. Like, why is it here? Like, because it's the World's Fair and that's when all of this happened?
Secret secret doors and secret tunnels.
And you get kidnapped.
And being killed.
Yes. None of that's in that room. I walked out alive, Tom, and was very disappointed.
What about the one, it was the same day we did the Mexico one. Was it Rumford?
No, it was Turner.
Turner.
Yeah. They had two rooms that we did.
Codes.
What was it?
Key codes.
Key codes, yes.
Are they still around?
Nope,
No.
They closed. COVID. They closed for
the
COVID,
sci-fi
right?
room. I remember.
I like the sci-fi room.
I did too.
Yeah.
The aesthetic was kind of cool.
The aesthetic was really good.
Puzzles
You didn't
were okay,
even really get to see the first aesthetic.
No, I know. I was in
they
the, I was the
separate.
one.
Oh, so that room did separate you too. That's right. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
That was the first one, right?
The first one, guys. But no. So like, I remember me, Janie, and Matt being in one room in our tubes, and you being in a completely separate room, and you had to help us get out of our tubes, so then we could get back to you. Like that was a pretty cool aesthetic. Most of the puzzles were okay. A couple of them were but most of it was pretty good. Their other room was not
The pirate
good.
room?
Pirate room was real bad.
I was very annoyed in the pirate room.
I remember you mentioning a puzzle with where it's that number that is literally every number, and they're like, no, it's not.
It's 4 numbers.
It's 4 numbers. No,
Like, no,
literally, I can
see
make 1, 2,
0
3.
through 9.
Yes, all of it. So yeah, that puzzle wasn't the greatest. I remember you telling me about it before we went, and then I went, and I was like, oh, this is that fucking puzzle he was
And it
talking
was still
about.
in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Still in there. Like, there's certain things. I used to get feedback on our rooms, and sometimes I would take it to heart, and sometimes I wouldn't. It would depend on what the feedback was.
Yep.
If you're just too stupid to figure something else that everybody else has, I can't do anything for you.
Your game master's a huge asshole.
That's true.
I don't accept that.
I don't. But there's other thing there. I was like, oh God, you're right. I should change that. That doesn't make any sense there. Or you're right. Actually, it should be over here. Or you're right. It actually should be worded this way so it makes more sense. And then I've changed it like almost instantly.
Yeah.
Like, I was the owner with Corey, so it's not like we had to check with anybody. It was just like, great, we're gonna need to fix this. And I felt like the one in Midcoast when we were giving her these things, it was always like, it should have been like, great, I can fix this stuff because it's my rooms. And then it just kind of fell on deaf ears. Like, nah, I think our rooms are good enough.
So are you saying I should paint the room a different color?
Because I do paint.
Yeah.
It's also watching gameplay. Like, if someone's always struggling on one puzzle, it's like, we need to look at this puzzle.
Yep.
So I don't know if you guys remember in Wonderland, I had the bottles on the shelf, the 4 stack of bottles. It was a logic puzzle. And people were taking way too long on it. So literally, I just went in one day, glued an extra bottle down. So it pretty much eliminated one of the logics that you would have to do to solve it.
Yep.
So it took like 5 minutes off the puzzle, which made the room a little bit more solvable than it was at the beginning.
Yeah, I think we did it in the beginning because I don't believe there was anything glued down
There
for
were.
us. It was glued down for us?
So there, at the beginning when I first started, there were 6 bottles glued, and you had to solve where the other like 8 went. But
and
it
then
was
you glued
like
one more?
I glued one more
Okay.
to make the puzzle just a little bit easier.
And I think we did it before it was glued.
I think
Because
so.
I remember us not struggling with it, but it being like,
It's
okay,
tough. It was tough.
this is going to have to be a puzzle we actually work at.
Well, weren't we testers-ish for that room?
I don't think we were.
I think we
No.
were like your first. I could have sworn. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because you guys did date night.
Because you literally
Not at the same time.
Yeah, but
not at the same time.
No,
We-
that
we-
was two
no,
different things.
I
Okay.
think we
So
were.
he might have been. He might be right.
We
might
weren't
have
your
been.
first testers, but
Yep.
I think it wasn't technically even posted yet when we did it because there was a mirror you were going to put on the door, and you
Oh,
had
that's
it.
right.
Oh,
He's
yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was-
so date
was
night.
the paintings done on the wall, the murals of the Cheshire Cat and the clouds in the second room?
I don't think they were finished yet.
Okay.
I don't remember those.
Yeah, so you guys were probably...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Very
we did test
early.
that one. Like date night was just us coming out doing the rooms.
Yeah,
And then we went
Yep.
to dinner,
Okay.
and then we had planned on
And
whenever
didn't
you
we
open
do?
the other
Was
one.
that the day we did Brunswick's rooms
Yes,
too?
that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. I knew we did.
I think I still have a free pass to go there. By the way, like I won it 3 or
Are they
4
open
years
still?
ago. Yeah, they're still
Yeah.
open.
Well, I just didn't know. So
Same
many places
rooms.
closed.
Same
Well,
rooms.
I did call because he claims it's a new room. So I called and I said, well, I've played this room 3 times with a different name. Does
Is
it
it
have
the
a
same?
shooting galley in it? And he's like, no, we've removed it. So it may be a new room.
All right.
It's a slingshot.
Yeah, we don't call it a shooting galley anymore, so I was okay if I said this.
Shooting galley was triggering some people, so we
Yeah, that one. I at least liked that when we went, they had multiple rooms to do. They just very similar to Midcoast where we did 4 rooms. They just weren't that fun. And then with Brunswick, we went and did 3 rooms the first time. It was you, me, Dylan, and his brother. And we did all 3 rooms, and yeah, they were okay.
Yeah, they just haven't progressed with the times of escape rooms.
Oh yeah, they look like they just opened.
Yeah, like their rooms would have been cool 7 years ago.
Yeah, when we first started. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
It's like, as an owner, you have to keep playing and learning and evolving with escape rooms. And
if you heard that like they just opened up today for the first time, and you went and did the room, you'd be like, okay, I can see that you have some elements here that could be cool. Let's see where your next room goes.
Yep.
But they just keep changing the name and altering things slightly. Like we did Revenge of the Nerds, which I think they had to change the name because I think they had some
lawsuit.
issues. Yeah. I don't remember what they changed it to. But before that, there was another one that was basically the exact same room because you're in a classroom.
Yeah. I think that was the name, the classroom.
Yeah.
Then Revenge of the Nerds, and now
it's
the Lab.
The Lab. Yeah, I think we did the Lab too. It's just the same room over and over. It's just like, oh, guys. Or the cabin.
The cabin.
The witch cabin, yeah.
Then the haunted cabin.
The haunted cabin, yeah. That's the one with the shooting galley, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, so but if they're making money, I can kind of see why they're like, there's no reason to, except I'd want some pride in my shit.
That's
I wouldn't
the
want,
way I think too.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put out a bad product of something. No. I mean, our rooms were not amazing, but they were different, and everyone, we tried something new and learned from what we had. Like, so the first room, I don't know if we had any electronic locks in the first room with undercover. Nothing, right?
Wait.
No, undercover, no.
Okay. No, yeah.
Everything was, what do you call your rooms before I gave you electronics? With no locks. No electronic locks.
You mean like
There's a word you use. Because you say, did you know my rooms were all blank?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been such a long time since I've said those words. Maybe? No, it was like a 1 or like...
We're gonna move on because I can't remember.
Yeah,
we'll be halfway through like poker tonight, and it'll just come to one of us. But yeah, that first room is not electronic at all. Everything, like we had an actual safe, we had keys hidden, we had directional locks, we had a
the
sliding
thing we had
lock.
The most was like fake thing. So we had the fake
shaving cream.
Yeah,
we had the fake water bottle.
Yeah.
We had the fake
like book.
coffee thing. Fake
dictionary.
That's what it was.
Fake word thing.
Yeah, the word, the thing with the word.
You're really struggling with your wording.
Yeah, I know. With the word dictionary too.
Source.
But so that was a fun one. That's also a room that I've seen that I don't think I've seen any other room. We had 2 ways to get, like, you had to unlock 2 things to get out of the final door. But one of those locked, you could have unlocked one of 2 ways. You could have found the magnetic stick, I guess, that was underneath the desk in the second room. And then if you looked underneath the banister, you would see a key hanging there.
Okay.
And there's nothing that leads you there unless you're looking around and you see it. It was literally supposed to be, hey, I wonder if anybody gets this. And like 3 people out of all of our groups got it. And then you could do it the normal way and you could solve it that way too. But you still had to solve the last lock anyway. So it wasn't like you could just find that and get out.
Yep.
And then
Generation 1.
Generation 1. That's
Generation
what it was.
2 and
there
Generation 3.
Yes. So the second room is when we added in more stuff and we had the lasers that would eventually pop an electronic lock, but still a lot of tactile stuff. I think that was our only electronic one in that one. And then the third room, we had the haunted phone that would pop a thing that you had to crawl underneath.
Which called the local game store, didn't it?
And it did. The actual phone number, yes, it was. I'm glad that's Spellbound, actually.
Yeah, Spellbound.
It was a homage to Spellbound. And then we also had the lock with the fingerprint, which you eventually took for date night, which was used for the headaches, right? The aspirin bottle. Yep. Yeah, Tom bought most of my stuff after we closed. He's like, I can use it. And yeah.
Well, I remember I bought the corpse that you had.
Yes.
And I just threw it in my back seat. And I'm driving down 95, and I went through the toll booth, and
wait. Just to clarify for anybody, I didn't just have a corpse. I didn't just have a corpse. It took me energy to make that corpse. No. So we had a corpse for the Nightmare on Main Street room where people would have to put their hands in and try to find certain puzzle pieces, but they couldn't see, so somebody from the other side would have to be able to actually see in and see what puzzle pieces they were getting, which would help them solve a lock. But then I had this giant torso cadaver that I just didn't know what to do with, and then
so I bought it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm driving down 95, and then I thought to myself, this is really stupid. Like, someone's going to look in my back seat and call 911, but luckily I made it home.
How great would that have been? That's a great story. Officer, I know what it looks like. It's a not. Prop. I promise you can feel it. Don't worry about it.
It's a dapper cadaver.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Like, I remember getting that delivered to my grandfather's house.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Then opening it up and him being like, the fuck are you doing? It's like, yeah, it worked for the room. Like, that was an expensive prop, but it added to the room because there was that giant box that we had in there that was very dark, but I had a switch on while I was being the game master, and I would turn it on and off. Every time they would try to look in it, I would shut it off, and when they turn away, I'd turn it back on until they got to that puzzle, and then I'd leave it on. But yeah, that was fun. It was always fun to screw with some people in there. I remember, and I don't know if you have, we'll get to you in a second, Corey, if you have think of any funny moments you had being like the game master, but there was one that sticks out the most in my head, which is, it was a group of girls probably between the ages of like 14 and 16, maybe 17, and they were doing the haunted room, and we had a doll in there once you got into the secondary room, and that means they've already heard the creepy phone call of the laughter.
Yep.
Crawled through, and it's dark in the other room, and they find the doll, and the doll says things when you press it, and one of the girls got freaked out by the doll, so she threw the doll, and one of the things the doll says is, you dropped me and it hurt. And they freaked out. Like, it's just a normal thing it says, and it just happened to be that exact time that phrase was, because it had like 5 or 6 phrases, but that exact time they freaked out, and I am literally laughing in the other room. I couldn't contain it. I was just like, that is so perfect. I really wish I was recording this. Oh, it was good. Do you have any moments like that of like...
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite, you guys played Son of the Zodiac.
Yes.
So you guys know I incorporated smells.
Yes.
So we had like rotting decay. We had raw sewage. So it was
wet, just remember, all the listeners, it was wet. It's my first wet escape room.
So I had just purchased a new smell called Slaughterhouse, and it's supposed to be the worst smell that they have, and it really is. It's terrible. And I just tested it out. Bad, not going to use it. It's too much. I had this obnoxious group in Zodiac.
I know where this is going.
Well, I did it by accident. I did.
Just accidentally that it's the obnoxious
group.
I go, because of course when we're running Zodiac, all the lights are off on our half of the building.
Yeah.
So I go to where the tunnel is, I grab the bottle of raw sewage, and I was like, I'm going to spray 5 sprays instead of 2. That's how I'm going to deal with this obnoxious group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I go back inside the control room. Well, 2 minutes later, the smell is coming through, and it is Slaughterhouse. Mm-hmm. So this lady unlocks the sewer door, and it just pours in. And they start gagging. They're like, bleh, bleh. I can't go in there. They're screaming at each other. No one would go in. So finally, they had to force them. They're all gagging as they go through the tunnel. That's one of my favorite memories of this game.
What do you got, Corey?
So I want to tell one of my favorites of somebody else as a game master, but one of my favorites when me running a game was we had a big group of maybe like it was one of the big ones. Like I want to say there was 17 people. Whoa. And it was undercover. It was that one that specifically requested to go over the amount, and then they showed up with even another
in
person.
one room.
Yeah, it was nuts. It might have been 14. I don't know.
I was going to say, I feel like the most we had in Undercover was 16, which was Melina. Only because we just had no other place to put them.
But it was just way too big. Right?
Yeah.
But so there was this lady in it that was like, very possessive about everything. But so right in the beginning, she found one of our keys that you needed. And she was like, all right, you guys need to make sure you let everybody know you got everything. Okay. So I got this key. And so like, let me know when there's a lock so I can use the key. I'm going to do it. And they got to the point where the key was supposed to be used, and everybody's like, who's got a key? Who's got a key? And she just fucking did not say anything. And she's like, come on. And she started getting mad. She's like, who's got the key, guys? Like, seriously. And then 10 minutes go by, and they asked for a clue, and I was like, tell the woman in red to reach in her pocket and take out the key. That's what she does. She's like, oh, my bad.
This Is the End?
What's that?
Movie with Michael Cera when he can't find his cell phone.
Oh, yeah. It's so embarrassing.
Who's got the cell phone? And then he dies, and then he's like, rings. He's like, oh, my bad.
And then my favorite moment from like a game master was we did Calcifer's Conjuring.
Oh, yeah.
Was that GTFO? And so he interacts with you, obviously, and stuff. And so KJ had read me this number for a code. And when we do rooms, it's always just his word versus mine, and you know he's never wrong.
Oh yeah,
sure.
So,
I'm never wrong.
So he's saying the code, and I was like, I tried that, and then he comes over and does it, and he's like, I told you it was this. And then I go, no, you said the opposite. You said it backwards. And he's like, no, I fucking did it. And Calcifer comes over, yes, you did. And it was just great. Like, and what's that guy's name?
I don't remember. Who's the owner of GTFO?
Richard?
Yeah, it was Richard.
Yeah. I forever indebted to Richard. But it was just a great moment for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one. I still remember when I was talking to Alan and what's the girl? Renee, and they were telling me about Escape Your Fears and having a group, because there's a thing in there where you have to stick your hand in.
Oh, yep.
And they said they had a group in there that for 15 straight minutes would not do it because they were that afraid. Like, they were arguing and trying to shove each other towards it and do it, and they just wouldn't do it until eventually someone did. But they wasted 15 minutes on the clock because they just couldn't get over that fear, even though it's an escape room. Nothing's going to hurt you. Yeah. But yeah, like that, there's certain moments like that are always going to like live in my head.
Oh yeah.
For like, I don't think I'll ever, unless something happens and I become like a multi-billionaire and then can put as much money as I want into like a room to make it epic. I don't see myself ever owning or running another escape room just because of how much time, energy, and everything it took. But I would love to be just for those memories, because I've seen like on TikTok or Facebook people posting videos and just listening to what some of these people are saying. I still remember, like, for one of our stupid guests, they brought the husband brought like a tool box with him, like a mini thing that was just in his pocket.
Yep. What was it? I thought that was like a family, and he was like the grandfather, the patriarch of
I said some guy.
Oh, I think you said the husband. So
well, he was a husband of somebody in the room.
Potentially.
Possibly.
But he had like a little toolbox in his pocket, and I wasn't fully paying attention because I was listening to them while doing other things, and then our reclining chair, completely taken apart. And it would, obviously, if anybody's ever been to an escape room, you always get told by the game master, or you're supposed to, there's nothing up high.
Yep.
There's nothing inside any of this stuff, because people are that stupid and will do it. Because if you can't, it's similar to like if you're ever looking for your keys, if you can't find them in the normal places, you start looking in crazy. Let me open the freezer. Let me look under here. Let me go outside, even though I haven't been outside. My door's been locked this entire time. Let me go outside and see if I've dropped my keys. And people have that when an escape room too. They're like, well, it's probably in here. Sure. They didn't provide us with these tools, but that's why I'm thinking ahead, because eventually this is just going to open up and look, there's keys and we get out. Oh, those are the bad ones. Did you ever have anything like majorly break?
Let me think. So we almost had one lady stick a key in an outlet. So even though that's something we would always say, there's nothing in the outlets. Yes. They're real. They're live.
We had to do that because Canada. There's a couple rooms in Canada that literally that's one of the things you have to do.
I think the basement out in California,
Does
I
it
think
do
that's
it too?
one of their puzzles as well as an outlet that you stick. It's a terrible idea.
It is, because then you go to anybody else's.
Well, not even anyone else's, but okay, so this outlet was fake. Let's go plug in.
Let's try this one.
Well, there was I don't remember which one it was, but they started putting stickers on all of their outlets to let people know that it shouldn't do that. It's not part of the game.
Did we not do that?
I think we did, because we saw something happen in somebody else's, and we're like, okay, we might as well just get them.
I had the do not touch stickers, but at a point, it starts taking away from the room if they're everywhere.
Yes.
It's like, I don't want that.
No.
Just
don't be
stick
stupid.
the key in the outlet.
Ugh.
Zodiac, we had a girl get so scared that she punched through the window between the two rooms. I popped up to scare her, and she just started swinging and literally exploded the panel of glass that was separating them.
Yeah, that's what you get for jumping up and scaring people.
That's nuts.
Are we talking about in the third room?
The second to third. So you go through the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then you can see into the third room for your clues through the window.
Yes.
So when I popped up in that window...
Gotcha. I don't think you popped up for us. I don't remember.
Probably someone else was there.
Maybe, it wasn't. Because I think we were looking in the dirt or whatever for the Zodiac signs.
Yes, the manure.
Yeah. The manure. That room, I tell you. It was great, and it was also not great. Do you remember anything breaking under your watch?
I mean, I know stuff broke. I just can't remember.
I remember the ball pit.
Well, I remember...
Never broke, but picking that shit up was the worst idea in the world that I ever had. Like, I love the idea of there being, like, a severed finger in a ball pit.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh my God, I have to pick up... Everybody just dumps it over. Nobody searches.
No. Why would you?
The swinging phone in the third room. The bookshelf that swung out.
Oh, yeah.
There was something about that. The spring, I think, came off. I remember fixing that a couple times.
Yeah, I had to fix that a few times. Yeah. That was mostly us being terrible builders.
Yeah, that third room was always my least favorite we did, even though I know it had some of the most expensive
props. It had the
props.
best aesthetic.
I disagree.
I mean, it had the best props, best aesthetic.
I think it felt like we had cool aspects, but it just wasn't cohesive throughout the whole room. So you had like dead space that didn't make any sense.
Well, you guys had big open room. The first room.
Yeah, undercover.
Yeah, and then that became
the
nightmares. It's just one really big room and then one smaller one, right?
Yeah. Well, we created the smaller one. That wasn't there.
That's right.
But part of that though, is in Undercover, we had so much stuff in Undercover. We had a dresser full of clothes. We had DVDs everywhere. We had books. We had silverware, plates, cups. We had all that stuff. And we talked about not liking that because it came off like everything was a red herring.
Yeah.
And so then we tried to do a minimalistic approach. But I agree, there was a lot of dead space when you do that because if we did more puzzles, it would have been like a 2-hour room.
But our first room Undercover, I think, actually had the best aesthetic.
For the theme?
But the aesthetic was...
a shitty apartment.
Easy.
So it was super easy to do.
Done.
But I mean, just if you walked into there, I think you could put yourself into the story.
Into
like,
an undercover cop.
Undercover cop, shitty apartment, and there's stuff hidden throughout the room. In like weird thing, I think it made sense. The third room I just never really felt made a ton of sense, but we were at a point where we had spent more money on any other room we had done. Yeah. So.
And we also we had the idea to begin with of it just being a babysitter room. But then all the ideas we had were like, how do we incorporate that with a babysitter room?
Okay.
Because we wanted to do toys. We had talked about it at first, putting a train set around the ceiling and putting locks each way so the train can't move until you unlock all the locks. And eventually once it gets to the end, it would set off something that would open the door.
Oh, yep.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And then as we started talking about that, it then slowly morphed into the sadistic room that it became. But that was our initial idea for how to get out of the room that then turned into putting a severed thumb on a fingerprint scanner. So welcome to Corey and my mind.
Yeah. I liked the idea for the second room too. I just wish... I always felt like the ending was a little nonchalant, and it was mainly because of the way our room was structured. There wasn't much other way to do it, but...
What we should have done...
an actual escape.
Correct. It was a haha, you got trolled. And now what we should have done was had that be still there, but then they still have to get back out the main door.
Yeah.
But that would have been hard because...
we only had one exit.
Exit, and then that's a whole fire safety hazard. If I put a lock on it, I can't get through it. Unless it's an electronic lock, and then I've got something on the other side, and then if they need to get out, we could have done that. But I didn't want to deal with that whole hassle. But that's what we should have done.
Yeah. I liked a lot of the puzzles in that room. Like the laser puzzle I thought was cool, where you had to unlock hanging boxes so that the mirror would reflect to the next one.
And that you had, we put it on a track.
Yeah.
So you had to, like, all of them were stationary except for the final one. And that final one you had to move so it would hit the sensor.
Yep. That was a cool puzzle.
By the way, I had somebody use their watch and solve that shit. Yeah, they're like, I don't know what that puzzle is, but let's just do this. And I came over the speaker. I was like, please don't do that. Like, you're right, but don't do that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think if I had to rank our rooms, I would have gone 1, 2. I think we got worse as we went. But
so
our biggest thing was we had no budget, and we also weren't very crafty. Like I feel like you operated on a pretty low budget, probably, but you just between you and I think you said your dad has
not him. He's not guy. It's his dad.
Well, sure, but whoever did it, you were able to take supplies and turn them into really fantastic things, and we just weren't that.
Yeah.
And we reused a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you went into you guys didn't get to play our Christmas room,
but
ironically, a lot of stuff from Zombies
went
into Christmas, but you would never know because
the cockroaches
painted it different colors and made everything look different. But it was a way for us to save money in design. How can we reuse these props?
Yeah. So as we get close to wrapping up this podcast, I want to talk about 2 different things. The first is, I know you had a room that I was very excited to play that never got made, which was Buried Alive. Buried Alive, where everybody starts in a coffin, different coffins.
Yes.
And you have to get out separately and then eventually work together to then get out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Love that idea. I don't know how it would have been in practice with actually being confined to a coffin and freaking the fuck out, but I love the idea, and I wish it was something that could have happened.
Me too.
And then I still love our idea, shackled. Like, I love the concept
you're shackled to different corners of the room, but you have to.
But you're all in the same chain, so you have to move left or right.
Or 2 of you are in the same chain. I think is what we had thought.
And then the ending was still going to be my favorite part.
Where you could choose. The idea was that you could choose to take longer and figure out how to unlock everybody else, or you could get an individual time and just be like, fuck this, I got my key, I'm out.
Gone. Yeah, I love that idea. I really wish that I see that somewhere, just because I would love it.
Yep.
So now for the final part, what are we thinking favorite room?
Well,
I knew you got something to say?
I knew you were going to ask this question, but I kind of want to add an addendum to it. Favorite room out in general, and then favorite room in the state. Because I feel like most of the people listening to our podcast live in the state.
Okay.
So I want to give them a referral in state, because you've done ones all over the country at this point. We've done some in Boston, which might be...
in Vegas.
Yeah, but... So favorite in general, then favorite in the state.
What do you got, Tom?
That's still open, or just in general?
Just in general, just like out of the rooms that you've done, because Tom said he's done roughly like 150. We've either passed or very close to 100. I had a list. I don't know where the list is, and that list I think we were in the 90s, and then we've done rooms since then, but I don't know how many.
Gotcha.
So
I gotta look this place.
He's gonna look it up. Quick. So he's gonna look it up. So I'm gonna talk about my 2 favorite rooms. So the Saw escape room is gonna be up there just because.
Do you really consider that an escape room?
Yes, like because it is.
I'm gonna call BS. Pick another one.
Okay, well I'll get to that. But the Saw one, it wasn't a guided tour because I've done some of them, and you were solving puzzles, and the aesthetic was outstanding. The games were fun. Everything was great, and if you remember correctly, we were only like the 7th group that ever got out. Like I've solved everything. I do remember
that,
yeah. Even the people that had directed and wrote the movie and Tobin Bell came and did the room. They didn't get out, but we were only like the 7th group that got out at that point, which was I thought cool. And we only solved one of those puzzles with literally a second left, which was the puzzles with the the mason jars things on the roof.
Yeah, where you start in this like cells. Or
yes,
whatever.
you're supposed to start in the cells. So that's still like for me up there. If we're discounting that one, then it is the room that is no longer open, which is the hole. I like the hole because we were in total darkness.
Massachusetts?
In Malden or something. What's the name, Malden?
Oh,
it was
the
on
hole.
Route
Yeah,
the hole.
Right.
Yeah,
I like how you said, "Oh, the hole."
Was it Malden or Saugus?
It was Saugus.
Saugus, that's what it was. Saugus.
It was right on
Because
Route
it was right near us where we stayed.
Yeah, that was the point of when we did it. And it is a room where you're in total darkness. It's only a 30-minute room.
Yep.
And you are handcuffed to begin with. And you have been kidnapped by like a demon or devil or something and put into like a cave. And you need to figure out a way out. And it is great. And there are no actual locks in the room besides for the handcuff.
Yep.
Everything is like an electronic lock and of how you were able to solve it. And
I think I remember keys.
Yeah, there were keys. Yeah, there was literally a corner with multiple boxes.
So there aren't any
number locks,
directional locks.
It'd be hard because you can't see.
Well, that was kind of the point. That's why I like the idea. And then there was the block puzzle where you put it in, it lit up if you got a certain ones in sequence.
Ironic,
it was also,
though,
I think,
we failed that one.
It was our first room we failed.
Yeah.
And we had never failed a room. And it was a lot of fun because you totally, at that point, we had done 40, 50, 60 rooms, something like that. And it literally is completely different than anything else we experienced because all of your normal perception of being able to see a puzzle is just gone. And yeah, so that's probably my favorite overall if we don't count the Saw one. And then if we're talking about my favorite room in the state, it's either Alice in Wonderland or it is, so it depends. If we're talking about aesthetic wise, it's going to be the UFO room. Like that aesthetic is just phenomenal. The room makes sense. They have good puzzles. It's fun and just the aesthetic is gorgeous. Like so much money they dropped into that thing. What about you while we wait for Tom, even though it looks like Tom's good now?
I had a different answer, but then you reminded me about the hole, which honestly I think I forgot about. So that probably was my favorite one. Although their jail room
was really good.
Cool.
I didn't play that one.
You start in 4 different cells.
Okay.
And then you have to work together.
Yep.
They had a couple puzzles there that didn't really make much sense, but the aesthetic of it and most of the puzzles were great.
Even their other room, was it the museum?
The museum one had a lot of puzzles that were very on theme, which I liked. With they
had the statues of like Anubis and Ra.
And then they also you had to put in certain poles or rods that made up something, and that would unlock something. And then the key to get out, I think, was the giant key. If I remember correctly, that had like a magnetic piece on it.
I played this one. Okay, you're bringing it back. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a fun room. Like that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I'm just going to give them as an escape room my favorite escape room.
They probably have the favorite escape room for all their rooms of how much fun I had.
I think they've closed.
They have closed.
Yeah, I think he got in trouble.
I just thought I thought I heard you told
he did
me
overextend himself, and he also started helping. Like he
also diddled kids.
He started building puzzles for people too, and he just didn't have time.
Rooms, but he was taking the money before he built them to build the one before.
Yeah.
So it was almost like
a Ponzi scheme.
He was way behind in his work and just could not ever catch up.
But he had cool ideas and cool puzzles. Like, if they just could have kept that going in Saugus, we would have gone back probably yearly if they just kept coming up with new rooms or opening new stuff. Because all 3 of them easily, so yours is weighed down by Aunt Edna, so screw you.
Yep.
But that one didn't have a bad room. And there's not many that didn't have a bad room. Even, I think our probably favorite in this state is Main Escape Games. And the estate is, and the main room was okay, but not great. The newer room was better, minus apparently they added basketball to it that you mentioned to me. That was not in the room when Corey and Aki did that room.
Uncle Ned's
cabin. I don't even remember it.
So, and Aki helped us because Aki speaks Japanese or reads Japanese. And he was able to solve something quick for us.
I saw the Japanese symbols. I was like, Aki.
We didn't have to solve nothing. He just knew what it was. But they apparently added basketball or so, like shooting into it just so they added more time to it, because apparently a lot of people were getting out quicker, so they added another puzzle that doesn't seem like it has much to do with the theme.
No.
Yeah. But so they have like a mediocre room, but most of their rooms are good.
Yeah.
Their room, all three that we played, and there was only 3 open, were great. All 3 of them were fantastic. So I'm definitely a fan. I would agree they're probably the best one. Although Concord's good. Concord has the library, the Lion's Den, the 3 rooms that led into each other. I will
say that in that room they had a couple that were really cool, the ones that connected, but their third one was kind of meh.
When you're in the coven, or are you talking about the 4th one?
Maybe the 4th one, I don't know.
The 4th one had nothing, like there was 3 in the same theme.
Yeah, but 2 even one of those I remember being less impressed
The last one we played, I didn't like as much. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it wasn't the theme.
It wasn't the library.
Or the den.
Or the sanctuary.
Sanctuary, that's what it was called.
Whatever the other one is.
Yes.
But it was also last room of our 14-room day.
But
which
not day, 14 trip.
Weekend,
yes.
Which could have altered our...
But it also was the only room I've ever been to where there were no locks.
Yeah.
That was our first 0 lock room. Everything was electronic. Everything was whatever.
But I'll say one thing I didn't like about is it the Lion's Den?
The Lion's Den is the second one.
Is the second one. The Heritage puzzle, where I was stuck in the corner by myself for like 30 minutes.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh,
it was boring.
It
was tedious.
And it wasn't very team.
No, I was just by myself.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that one.
The other thing I'll say is, while those rooms were good, it's just the theme for me was not. I like ones that kind of are off the beaten path when it comes to theme. I've done so many inheritance or like estates.
It's a very easy room to do. I get it. That's why.
But that's why I get sick of it.
I'm very surprised there's not more bank heists, by the way.
Me too.
Like, I don't understand. I feel like that's a very easy concept for people. Mm-hmm. And there's only like 1 or 2 prison break type of rooms. Yeah. I feel like, and it's one of the reasons that Mainly Escapes hasn't opened a new room or switched anything besides for how many owners they've had. But it's because people keep coming to that because it's a theme people can just latch onto.
Yep.
Which is weird because I wanted to build rooms that people like us would enjoy, not the layman, which is not the right attitude to have for business. Like, you want to get the casual ins to come and enjoy and then maybe go to something else later.
That's the lesson I had to learn, is family friendly.
Yeah.
Once we switched to family friendly rooms is when we exploded in business.
Yep.
When we were doing Zombies and Son of the Zodiac, we weren't crazy busy. We had customers, but not anywhere near Wonderland or Santa's Sleigh.
Santa's, yeah. Yeah, and I've seen Brunswick try to advertise that, like shove towards family and all that stuff. So they're trying to get that too. So what about you, Tom? Or did we finish yours? What about your favorite room? You said the Hole, and then you said that was your favorite company. What about Maine?
Probably in Maine, my favorite room I've done.
We're getting a lot of silence here. Should I go over to Tom?
It's tough because I really liked. Actually, the Ultimate Escape.
The Ultimate Nightmare. That wasn't that bad of a room, minus the fucking name.
I actually liked their jail room. Still,
the jail room's
holds
good.
A place in my. I thought it was pretty.
I liked some of the Hard Knocks.
I liked the Peephole.
Yeah, Peepholes was cool. And I think that was our first like electronic puzzle too, because that was I think our 3rd escape room ever, and with the chessboard.
Yep.
I think that was like our first electronic lock where we put something on and something popped, and it was just like, holy shit.
But I don't know, UFO room I really liked the aesthetic for, so it's hard not to go with that one. But in terms of like just enjoying the gameplay aspect, I actually have quite fond memories of your zombie room, which I know is not even his favorite one at your place.
Yep.
But I liked the start. It was the first time we had started separate. I liked that there was like the cage separating us door. I liked the puzzles we did. Even the cockroaches, while I didn't expect them to be alive, it was like a good throw.
You also had that video intro too? Yeah.
I felt like from start to finish, the aesthetic made sense. The puzzles were good. So I liked the theme. I think that's the other thing. I'm more of a theme person.
What about, which I've forgotten about until right this second, GTFO's not Buried Alive. What was it called?
Minor Problems.
Minor Problems. Like that had we were separated.
We started separated in that one.
Yeah,
was that the first one you did separated?
No,
Yeah.
no. It's one of them. It's one of the first times. But no, so it ends up like you're separated, and I remember being you and two buddies and me and the other buddy in the room. And then you eventually come together and have to get out. And the aesthetic of that room actually was pretty good in the sense of it felt like you were down in a mine with the wood and fake rock and everything. So that one actually wasn't that bad. That was probably the best room GTFO had.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't even. I'm trying to remember their other ones.
So we had the one where you had a serial killer where we did it with people. It's the first time we ever did a room with other people that we didn't know.
It was like trapped in the dark.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, and they gave you like one flashlight for 8 people. And
yes.
It was rough.
There was Calcifer's Conjuring, but before Calcifer Conjuring or after there was that other room.
After they had the magician's apparition or something like that.
Something like that, which is very similar.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It might be the zombie room at Tom's.
Yeah. Is that just because he's sitting here?
No, actually, the truth is, when we first were thinking about it, my first instinct was UFO room. But then I was thinking about like the puzzles in there, and like you said, I didn't really like that switchboard one. And the puzzles to get in the room were kind of generic. Probably why I solved them.
They're
so easily.
Supposed to be because it's supposed to.
I get it.
It literally seems to be setting you up to do like generic, and then be like, holy shit!
Like I love that room, and I always recommend it, but. To me, it was more just like, oh, these props are amazing.
Yeah, it's
like if I was talking about what room, their best room, in my opinion, is Escape Your Fears, because the puzzles, while some of them are kind of odd, like throwing the ball up in the thing, they're creative and different.
Yeah, I'll also say
it was the
first
three-person room I think we ever did, and they had that weird turn style. 3-room.
Oh, 3 rooms.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
but they
more than
they had
people.
that turnstile, so like the first person who goes
just
doesn't know what they're getting into.
And you'd have to do a fuse to open that up.
Yep.
And I also remember, so that room is one of the rooms that I have a big thing about. I want a room to make sense. If I'm doing a room, like bleed me into the story. That one you got kidnapped by a serial killer, and he's literally watching this happen, which is why. So there's a part before I get to, I know we've been talking about your favorite room, and I haven't been letting you get to it, but I remember us doing that room, and we're in the first room, and there's this clown that keeps showing up in both windows, and we have a friend that went and did it with us who doesn't like clowns and got a little bit freaked out, and I was like, it's fine, it's animatronic, it's not real, and then he just looked at us and went, and I was just like, oh shit. All right. So that's a real, like, that's a cool little thing to have. And it adds to the room too, because he's watching you.
Oh yeah.
So even though it could be any puzzle in the world, in the sense of no matter how crazy it is, he set that up because he wants to watch you do it. Perfect. Great. I am all in for it. And there are some ones out there, like the Mid-Coast one, where none of the puzzles made sense for the room.
No. There's
some of the other ones in Bangor before the new owner took over, where I had a lot of issues with some of the puzzles that they had, because it's just like, why is this puzzle here?
Yep. I liked the night, like the medieval one.
Medieval one had cool aesthetic. Again, and a lot of cool
but that's also like I like that time aesthetic time period.
Yeah, it's very aesthetically pleasing. All right, so Tom, favorite room overall before we talk about Maine.
All right, overall, if you had asked me last year, I would have said Escape My Room in New Orleans.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, no, I have a new one.
Oh, you have a new one?
It's the Exit Games in Tampa, and it's called the Servants... Hold on, I want to get it right. Servants of Slight.
Okay.
And you are getting, like, inducted into a magic cult. And I will say, by far, the best room I've ever played. I would fly to Florida just to play it. And I'm not even joking. It is worth the trip. And they just opened a second room about a tattoo parlor that I'm tempted to go play.
So apparently next time I go to Florida, I got to plan this shit out.
You've been traveling a lot. You got frequent flyer miles to cover.
Are you taking us with you? Is that what I've heard? Yeah.
It's the most, like, I've ever felt in the experience.
Yep.
Like, I was that character. I never felt like I was in an escape room. It was amazing.
Yep.
Highly, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go into details.
Yeah, don't ruin it
the
for
room
me,
because
I'll probably do it.
It's incredible.
I just know, like, for us, when we did the undercover room, when we had set it up, we had thought about, and we did in the beginning, the game master played a character in it. You were the partner.
Yep.
And people hated it. And I just don't think they understood what we were trying to do, but they hated it. So, I love that. Like, if I'm going to do a room, I want to be completely immersed.
Yeah.
I want that. So that's cool that's what it sounds like it does. I'll be all about that.
You would. I think anyone who does escape rooms would love the experience. Love that one.
Good to know.
For Maine,
yes,
it's actually tough because I didn't get to experience my rooms.
Oh God, he's so humble, guys. He's so humble.
You know what? Now I think about it, his rooms were shit.
Yes. I don't know. We both mentioned your room in this, so I mean, if you want to throw some love our
way, no. We wore what we wore, but we weren't the best in Maine by far.
I would definitely lean Maine Escape Games as the best company in Maine right now. But best room that I've played in Maine, I would actually do Hoodwinks, the dojo.
Yeah, I forgot about the dojo. The dojo was
really
a good room.
Enjoyed that room.
And I think the switch in the middle.
Yes. Like, it follows that same pattern. You're walking, same with the alien room.
Yes.
You're kind of like, oh, this is it?
Yeah.
But then as it changes and it gets more and more involved, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the only thing I'll say, I liked that room a lot, but if I think back on it, like at the moment, right after I got done it, I was probably like, oh, this room was amazing. But then after I think back on it, I spent half the time in a meh room.
Yeah.
Just for a really good payoff at the end.
Yep.
And I'd rather spend,
most of the time in the pool room.
Or at least, most of the time. So if you would have spent 15 minutes in the beginning before it switched to the other thing.
If you guys were better.
Oh, God. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to take like 30 to 40 minutes in the first part, and then you get the last 20 or so in the other room. I think that's the point of it. But yes, if we were better in 10 minutes, and then we went like,
Well, it's like we watched The Joker, the movie, and we hated it for the longest time. And then the ending kind of made all the other shitty parts worth it.
Okay.
But
it made all the shitty parts not shitty.
But it's still a movie I don't really want to rewatch. I'll just skip to the end to the good parts that the payoff.
It makes the ending makes the rest of the movie great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the very few movies that I can think of that has done something like that. And it's also a detriment to me because now I'll just keep watching a movie hoping that the end brings it all together.
I'm going to watch it backwards from now. How's this end? Oh, okay.
I got it now. Yeah.
Because usually what happens is the thing I've seen more recently is like a movie's like I like it, and then the ending is so flat. Like, it's awful.
It's very hard to do endings.
Well,
it very much is.
I mean, you can relate that to escape rooms.
Absolutely.
There's a couple companies I think that do great rooms, but they don't know how to end it. So you end with a very flat puzzle.
Yep.
And it's not exciting. I mean, you kind of felt that way with my Zodiac.
Yeah.
You said it kind of built up.
Yeah, it built up, and that last room wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Yep.
Just because of how good the other ones were.
Yep.
I think even in ours, for the Ultraviolet, has that build up and then the nothing.
Yep.
The haunted shower / night room had very similar to that, although they fixed that now and added another door.
Oh.
I've realized that people need a door to get out of.
Well, our Santa room did not have a last door. It had a task.
Okay.
So your whole job was to get Santa's sack
pervert
into the sleigh.
Okay.
Tom's just in there like, get Santa's sack.
Can't come get it.
So what we did is we made it an experience when you did that. Instead of just saying time's over, it actually snowed in the room, the lighting changed, the music changed.
But something happened, something significant.
And you had to, so what we made people do is everyone had to stand together as a family. They'd put the bag in, they all had to hold hands and say, "We believe." And when they did that, it snowed in the room. And I'm not joking, we actually had like families crying because it was so
Was
emotional.
It you? Were you crying?
I cried a couple times
right.
watching it, but it was just a very emotional room.
We didn't get to cry, Corey.
The Rothsteins did not approve.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about this, you could all, I think, feel like anybody listening can hear all of our passion for escape rooms. We none of us own one anymore. We'll still do them. They're still a lot of fun, but we have so many memories of these experiences of doing the rooms, creating the rooms, seeing people. Like, that was some of the best thing for me. At least it was to begin with. Then it got annoying. But in the very beginning, watching people do the room was the next best thing to doing a room. Now, after you've seen it 1,000 times, oh my God, fuck off, solve the puzzle, get out.
And especially being on Main Street with all the drunk people that would come in and do the rooms.
Oh,
on, like, Friday night.
For like a bachelor party, bachelorette party.
Yeah.
But
the stupid bro guy, like the no offense to anyone named Chad, but the Chads of the world who would come in and be like, I would just bust this door open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm badass. Yep, bet you would.
Yep. But there's just so much that we've experienced because of these rooms. Yeah. So much more that I'm sure we will as we go on. That it's just always going to hold a special place for me. It's just so much fun. And it introduced me to you. Now you're moving. Piece of shit. It didn't really introduce me to anybody else. It's mostly just him. There you go, Tom. I got you out of it.
Well, I mean, we definitely have become friendly with other owners, but not like come hang out kind of friendly.
Yeah.
To be fair, KJ's usually the one talking, and not many people want to hang out with you.
He's just so personable. He won't say no. I'll be like, "You want to hang out?" And he's like, "Damn it!"
I could see that. Like, Tom actually hates you, but he's just too nice to say something.
I was telling when you took a phone call earlier, I was telling him like he must go home at night sometimes and be like, "I got everybody tricked. I don't actually like any of you people. I'm just really good at lying." And now he's not saying anything because we're spot on.
Uncomfortable.
Yep.
All right. So, final thoughts: escape rooms. Anything you want to add?
I'm just excited to see where escape rooms go.
Yeah.
Because they've been progressing so much over the last 7-8 years that they've been here that I'm interested to see what the next level is.
Yeah, with the next iterations or how much people keep pushing the envelope.
Yep.
That'd definitely be good. What about you, Corey? Closing thoughts, escape room wise?
I enjoy them, and I look forward to doing many more down the road. I actually always wanted to travel overseas, and so my family is in September, and like I'm really trying to make it happen. And if I do, they're going to Scotland and Ireland, and I'm kind of curious to see if they have rooms. What
I'm sure they do, but they might be completely different.
You got to drink this whole plane. The clue's at the bottom. Yeah.
But like, there's rooms over in like Japan and stuff that are completely different than what we have. Yes. There's one that's literally just a white room, and there is puzzles within it, but there's not. Like, it's one of those type of, a very weird thing.
A weird thing in Japan?
I know, it's crazy, right? But, so other cultures definitely have these type of things, but will be different than what we're used to, the Americanized version of them. So, if you do something, you'll have to let me know how they are over there. But I eventually want us to go to Canada and try out some of their rooms.
I say we sneak into North Korea, insult the leadership, and play escape prison.
This will go badly. Yeah. All right, this is where we're going to wrap it up. I don't know what we're going to be doing next time because this is going to air in like a month and a half or so. So we're just going to leave it at that, leave it as a little bit of a mystery for everybody.
I can guarantee you KJ will be talking shit in the next podcast.
And outside of the podcast.
Yep, valid.